Hi, my name is Dominic Youngren. This is my presentation on exploring a flipped classroom model for American College of Education. Diving into the lesson profile here. Here are the state standards here on the left. These standards are from the state of Colorado. And the learning objectives is I'm hoping for my students to take any sort of real world situation and model the situations in it as a linear expression. They have previously worked with linear models, so they should have a basic understanding of what the equations look like, what the graphs might look like, and how to use these models to solve problems. By creating a flipped classroom, I'm hoping to provide multiple modes of learning and multiple modes of expressing that they have learned the content. And then one of the most important things with any kind of math thing that or math property that we learn, I want my students to be able to connect that to the real world. So now what it looks like as a flipped classroom. Here's just an infographic of what a basic flipped classroom looks like. Really what I'm going to do is take some sort of educational technology and ask that my students use this technology at home so that way they can come to class ready to move on to the next portion. So when they have that basic level of understanding of a linear model, they have now learned like that bottom level of Bloom's taxonomy. So then when they come to class, we can be a little more active and we can do a little more work um, activating the higher order thinking skills. So outside the classroom, students are going to be watching a video on how to take real world properties or real world problems and express them as linear models. As they do that, they'll respond to a few questions that I will have typed up for them. And then once they're done with that, I want them to extend that thinking and extend that learning and do a little research on their own. That research should provide students an opportunity to figure out what are some real world models that fit a linear equation. So this could be something that they're interested in. This could be something that they just simply find on the internet. Really, this is where I want students to be creative and dive in really as much as they want. So some of your more higher achieving students, they can actually just go in and find data and make this more of a project, as where some of the students who are lower learners and still kind of need to be in the grasp of this idea, they can find a problem from any sort of website and just roll with that. So here I want the students to be creative and figure out what interests them and what kind of problems are they truly interested in solving. As Bergman and Sand say, the flipped classroom model encompasses any use of internet technology to leverage the learning in a classroom so that a teacher can spend more time interacting with students instead of lecturing. That's with the lesson I have planned here, that's being accomplished as teachers can then come into the classroom and say, okay, let's work with the problems that you guys created and make sure that they all fit a linear model. So students are first going to do this collaboratively, and that way they're facilitating their own learning and holding each other accountable. And then they're also activating higher order thinking skills as they're not just solving the problems, they're thinking about them in a sense of, do they make sense? Do they actually fit this linear model? How can I ask it in a way and present the information in a way that somebody who's reading this can say, yeah, I see where a rate of change might be. I see where a starting value might be. And I see how I can take this information, build an equation, and then answer questions about it using those equations. So this process is much more hands-on. Like I said, the students are more active in this process as they're working with each other. Another thing that I was hoping to accomplish with this flipped classroom is just to provide students with different options. So the basic idea was that I wanted students to bring in their own problems, share with each other, and create their own worksheet. Now, if it doesn't work for students, I could also have them come in and they could just do a simple worksheet on their own, if that's what their preferred method of learning is doing. If some maybe went a little more in depth and they found a bunch of data that's helping them predict and answer much more rich questions, maybe they are doing more of a project either on their own or with just another partner. So this collaboration piece can look very different and provide students multiple modes of what they want to be doing. And again, through all of this, the teacher can serve as a facilitator. They can answer small questions about the material, about their research, and even clear up any points of confusion that they may have had as they work through this. Lauren Williams had expressed that increased interaction and engagement in a class should be the outcome of a successful and progressive flipped classroom. And I think what I have planned here definitely does what Ms. Williams was explaining. So now moving forward, why a flipped classroom? One of the main advantages is that it allows students to have the flexibility to engage with the information before entering the classroom. That's one thing I said early on is that students are going to go home and they're going to work on this material before they come in. So now, again, something that I mentioned is the learning environment is much more active. They're not having to sit and listen all the time. Um, Also, by using that flipped classroom model, when they are at home, they can work at their own pace. So some students can watch a video and understand things very quickly. Some might have to pause, rewind multiple times, and it might take them uh, much longer than others. So the fact that students can work at their own pace is a really nice option for the educator and for all the students. It also focuses on higher level learning in class. That's something I mentioned in what my students would be doing inside the classroom because you can be a little more creative. You can include problem-based learning or project-based learning. And so that students can take some of the basic things they learned at home and now just apply them inside the classroom. Um, and then students are actively learning inside the classroom. Whenever they're doing work instead of just being fed information, they're a little much more active and much more engaged. So then it also just maximizes classroom time for the educator. So that way, students are doing more work in class and rather than just being fed information in class. So lots of benefits to this flipped classroom. One assumption or one thing to be careful of is do your students have the opportunity to do the at-home assignment? That's always one of my biggest concerns when I'm trying to apply this. And one thing that I've thought about, one thing I want to incorporate here is if they can't do this or if they don't have the time, provide them the time in class to maybe do that at-home portion. Sure, it takes away from that classroom time that they're being more active and working with others. But if there's 3 or 4 of them, they can watch the video. They can go through that flipped classroom assignment that they should have been doing at home. And they can do that in class and then go ahead and join the rest of the group with what they should be doing. So I think this also just allows for students to kind of pick where they want to start, where they want to end. So they're more in charge of their learning and the time that it takes for them to learn. So this is something I'm really excited to try. I think it has a really great use in a math classroom and can be used for not only the lesson that I described here, but for any lesson moving forward. And then just to conclude are my list of references. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.